You are listening to Theoretical Insights of D&D.
Lord, give me a fireball!
Screw how hot your skin is, my bars are hotter. Let me tell you what this is. Let me tell you, you listeners, if you don't know what the zombie has packing in his decaying flesh. You shut up, cancer bones. You gonna be a zombie if that cancer doesn't get cured.
Hey guys, I'm Rob.
And I'm Ducky.
And welcome back to Theoretical Insights of D&D.
Yeah.
You were going to intercede there, Duck.
I was going to say, I'm the substitute teacher, basically.
Yeah. Eric decided to lay out of class, and he is getting, he's receiving a point upon his record for this.
Yeah.
Today we are covering our top monsters, and when I say our, I mean I made the list, and I'm going to have Duck react to all the ridiculous stuff that I'm about to read for CR 18. And once again, coming to you is a new and improved celebrity list. At number 1 this week, we have Sean Astin. Now, like the last episode for the monster list, is 1 through 5 because all of these people are cool. We'll give you an idea as to who we can't stand: Dan Schneider, Pickle Boy, Paris Hilton, other people. At number 2, we have Liv Tyler because she was absolutely fantastic in Lord of the Rings. Also, she's not a bad actress to begin with.
She's a really good actress.
She's the daughter of Steven Tyler as well. So, I mean, she's got a little bit of Aerosmith in her blood. She was in Lord of the Rings.
Empire Records.
Yes.
Empire Records.
She was also in The Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton movie.
Yeah, she was. She was in a lot of stuff in like the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, she hasn't been in a whole lot here recently, but I figure it's because she's kind of just, she doesn't really need it. I mean,
I think she had some kids. I think I think the truth is she settled down and had some kids and is being a mom.
Yeah, and that is highly commendable in today's society. Number 3, we have Ian Holm, one who is no longer with us, but a fantastic actor who portrayed Bilbo Baggins along with, oh God, I can't remember his name, but the priest in Fifth Element.
Oh yeah.
You know,
he's a really well-known British actor, very long storied career, like very respected career as well.
He's got a lot more filmography there that I'm not really familiar with, but he was a fantastic actor.
Not as much as Christopher Lee, though.
No, there's a reason Christopher Lee is not on this list, and it's because Christopher Lee is getting his own top of the list spot at a later point in time.
He needs his own list, basically, of all the iconic roles he played.
It'll just be a list of the top 5 Christopher Lee characters that he played. Pretty much. But God, what was it? Bruce Willis had just showed him something in the movie. He's like, it's is that what I think it is? At number 4, we have Andy Serkis. Gollum is one of the best characters in the entire Lord of the Rings universe, even though I can't stand the character of Gollum. I like him and I dislike him. It's one of those weird. I guess I like Smeagol. I don't like Gollum, but I guess that's the way it's supposed to be. He
plays one of the most underrated villains in the MCU as well.
What was that villain's name?
It's a name I can't pronounce.
Okay.
I know I can't pronounce it off the top of my head, but I know it was in Black Panther because my kid loves that movie and we've watched Black Panther a bunch of times. And
well, he's also supposed to be South African, so it's no surprise we can't really pronounce it.
But yeah, he has had a really amazing career after Lord of the Rings, which is commendable.
You say after, but I don't. It may have just been a tabloid thing that I saw online, but I think he is coming back for the role of Smeagol and Gollum in the supposed
I
remake
do
of Lord
believe
of the Rings.
I'm gonna expose myself here, but I maybe saw a little bit of something about that on Tumblr. You know, scrolling through the Tumblr.
Ooh.
Um, where do you think I get half my memes in the Discord? By the way, if you haven't joined the Discord, I drop a lot of memes in the Discord. Most of them are from Tumblr, so you don't have to go on Tumblr.
Yes, if you can't get enough of our hilarity and idiocy throughout the podcast, the link to the Discord is on the YouTube page, you know, the one that nobody clicks on. So, and I'll probably put it in the description for this episode. But I almost forgot. If I'm not mistaken, he played Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal actor. He really is a phenomenal actor. A great character actor, which is hard to come by in Hollywood, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Because nowadays we just have people playing themselves in movies like The Rock. He's just is in every movie.
He was very good in The Scorpion King, though.
Yeah, honestly, I think the last great role he had was Gridiron Gang. That was a great movie, and it was it was a role that he showed a lot of emotional roller coaster in, instead of, oh, I'm big and muscular, let me grab onto the back of this truck and hold a helicopter from taking off, because that makes sense.
Not to go off on a tangent here, but as a mom, I have seen many a Disney movie with my child. My child happens to enjoy the music of Moana. He was very good in Moana. Like, he did He did a good job in Moana, and he did all of that. And I thought that I had to put that out there because that's been since Gridiron Gang.
Yeah, I mean, Moana's great, but I'm more talking about the on-screen stuff. And then finally, our top spot for this week. Obviously, this is going to be released nearly a month after we record this, so everybody's already heard about this. But earlier this week, Bernard Hill passed away. And for this week's list, he gets the top spot because his portrayal of Theoden King was glorious. He made the scenes in those two movies magical.
It's a testament to him just being a phenomenal actor.
Yep.
In general. He brought a lot of heart to the role, which I think this can be said of all Lord of the Rings cast members, and I think you can kind of tell that Rob and I are a little bit of Lord of the Rings nerds here. But of all the cast members, they all brought a lot of heart to the role, but there was something very special that Bernard Hill brought to that role. A lot of people may not know that speech where he talks about no parent should have to bury their child. That was something he kind of improv'd and isn't actually from Tolkien, but it fits Tolkien so well, and it's such a profoundly iconic moment in the films of the whole series now of films. Yep. All 6 of them, if you want to say, those moments with him are some of the best.
And the rally speech that he gave at the beginning of the battle, oh my God.
I was just about to say, the Battle of Helm's Deep is one of the most impressive things to have ever been put on film. The actual filming process of it was its own crazy, I think it was a month or more long shoots of night shoots and stuff. I remember watching it on the extras of the DVDs back in the day.
Thousands of background actors.
Yeah. But he was there every day. He had to show up. He lived a very good life, but I still even though he was in his 70s, I feel like we lost him a little soon, in my opinion. But he lived a great life, and that's why he gets the top spot, because Theoden was king.
And with that in mind, we move on to our monster list. And because screw Hasbro, we're starting off with one from Tome of Beasts, the 2023 edition, with the adult Mithril Dragon. The adult Mithril Dragon is a huge dragon with an armor class of 18 and a 253 hit points, or you can take the max of 22d12 plus 110 for a max health of 374. 40-foot movement speed with a flying speed of 80. Has a plus 12 to dexterity saves, 11 to con, and 10 to wisdom and charisma. Has a plus 10 to history, insight, and persuasion, plus 12 to stealth, and plus 16 to perception. Resistant to force, one of the very few things that we've seen so far with either resistance or immunity to force. Immune to slashing damage, whether it's magical or not. Immune to the charmed condition, blind sight of 60 feet with dark vision of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 26. It's going to take a serious rogue to get by this thing. Passive perception of 26.
Depending on what level characters that you're throwing at it, your rogue could have very, very high stealth.
With it being a CR 18, realistically 6 10th to 11th level characters.
Yeah.
Probably.
Easy. Because in the campaign that we have characters who have plus 7, plus 12 in some cases to self. In my campaign, like, I could throw this at you and easily with a good enough roll with the right character, one of you guys could stealth past this dragon.
Well, that depends, because we only roll good when it really doesn't matter.
That is fair. That is very fair.
When it doesn't matter, you guys roll great. It's also, it speaks all languages with a telepathy of 120 feet. It's a very smart dragon, or well-studied at least. 3 uses a day of legendary resistance, magic resistance, and mithril scales. If the dragon rolls a 20 on a saving throw against a spell that targets only it, the dragon is unaffected, and the spell is reflected back at the caster as though it originated from the dragon, turning the caster into the target.
This is a warlock's worst nightmare?
Yeah. Well, it's just about anybody's worst nightmare, because...
No, I'm saying specifically warlock, because one of the main selling points for warlock always for me is Eldritch Blast. That is the most broken cantrip in all of 5e, and it's force damage. And usually there's nothing that can resist it. And it's like, and I mean, you don't even have to be very high level to have a very, very consistent Eldritch Blast.
Well, see, the issue, though, is that it wouldn't affect Eldritch Blast, because this is against saving throws. This would affect Hunger of Hadar, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, stuff like that. It's going to affect the scary stuff. And Eldritch Blast, once you get up high enough level, doing 40, 10, and then maybe plus your, if you take Agonizing Blast for charisma, because some people don't, and that's fine, then that's a lot of damage. But to launch because you're a warlock, you have to cast it at, say, 4th level or 5th level. You launch a 5th level fireball. This thing does a nat 20, and then you just see that little mustard seed just coming right back at your forehead. And a 5th level fireball explodes. I didn't think that through.
Specifically, a spell on the warlock spell list that I think that would be a nightmare in this situation against this monster would be Maddening Darkness.
Yes. Or even, let's think of, no. Forget that. This is just based off of a nat 20. Power word kill.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Power
word.
No.
I wasn't thinking that they were going to be that high level to fight it. I was trying to think like kind of mid high level stuff to throw out. No, but that would be absolutely disastrous. I mean, this is a nightmare fight for casters. If you want to give a full party of casters, because I've seen full party casters, one heck of a fight. Well, you could TPK your party very easily if you have a party of full casters.
This is just the adult version. There's going to be an ancient version, and I was probably going to be doing the same stuff, just a little bit better. But you think, let's just use the adult version, because that's what we're using now. You're fighting an ancient chromatic dragon. He's the BBEG of the game, and it just so happens that he's got an adult mithril dragon in his tow, and he's not the only dragon you're facing. So in the final fight, you're facing 3 dragons. You're facing an adult mithril, an ancient, we'll say silver, just because, and an adult solar dragon. We'll just throw some crazy stuff out there, and you're 20th level because at that point you kind of have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Your wizard, because of really, really bad health rolls, only have 115 health at 20th level. And then he takes 1 breath weapon attack because he got a little too close. And next thing you know, he's like, oh, we've done a lot of damage. Power word kill. Nat 20, instant death.
That poor wizard or sorcerer. I could see a sorcerer, a very particular tiefling sorcerer that I know be dumb enough to try something like that.
Well, you may as well group the warlock in there with it because of the fact of Mystic Art. Well, no, they would be able to get up to. Does Mystic Arcanum give a 9th level spell?
I don't know. I've honestly never taken a warlock that high.
Let me look. Mr. Oh, good Lord. Google. Okay. Pulling up the warlock. And under class features, where'd it go? Those are all invocations, okay. Okay, at 17th level, you would get a 9th level spell from Mystic Arcanum.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
So technically, this could screw over the warlock as well. Or even, I don't even think it's available to the cleric, but if there's some way that the cleric was able to do it, if they cast a wish spell and the DM's like, okay, well, what spell would you like? Power word kill. Nat 20. The cleric's dead.
Would this work on smites?
It would. It would.
Oh!
Any spell that only targets the dragon, if it rolls a 20 on the saving throw against that spell, it is returned back to the caster.
Oh no! Oh no! This is bad.
Yeah,
this is a nightmare fight. This is a nightmare fight. Nightmare fight.
The only thing you want in this fight are fighters, barbarians, and rangers. Maybe a druid.
Or a rogue.
Yeah.
For sneak attack.
Yeah.
Because you need that sneak attack. You need them extra dice.
Multi-attack. The dragon uses his frightful presence, and we all know how that works at this point. And then it makes 1 bite attack and 2 claw attacks. The bite is a plus 12 to hit, 10-foot reach, 2d10 plus 6 piercing damage. Instead of dealing damage, the dragon can end 1 magical effect of its choice of 5th level or lower on the target.
This is the monster when you're like a DM that really wants your party to hate you.
You know that whole person that I used last night?
Yeah. You did a good job on it, by the way. That was a very good move.
It would have really screwed me over if something had this ability. That's crazy. Wait a second. Claw, plus 12 to hit, 5-foot reach, 2d6 plus 6 slashing damage, and if the target isn't a construct or undead, it must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or lose 2d6 health at the start of each of its turns as a piece of metallic claw breaks off in the wound. Any creature that can take an action to remove the claw with a successful DC 14 medicine check, and the claw pops out of the wound if the target receives magical healing. But think
fam. Nah, fam, nah. I don't like this. I don't like it.
Because if you think about it, who's going to be up front close enough to get hit by a claw? The fighter, the paladin, the barbarian, maybe a ranger, which could have a decent medicine, but maybe not. if they can't get that DC 14 wisdom save because that was their dump stat, that's 2d6 at the start of each of their turns for 4 rounds because people are trying to get close enough.
I don't even think Barbarian Rage could probably have that damage unless you're like, what, like a totem barbarian or something, and then
there's nothing that has that damage because it is no certain type of damage. It is straight 2d6 health.
no, like no, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Don't you dare get ideas to make us go up against this in your game. I speak for everybody in your campaign.
Oh, but it just gets better. Shard Breath, recharge of 5 to 6. The Mithril Dragon spits metallic shards. Char is hard. In a 60-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a DC 19 Constitution saving throw, taking 12d6 slashing damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. The area becomes difficult terrain for 1 minute, and then the shards dissolve into wisps of silvery smoke. When a creature moves into or within the area, it takes 2d6 slashing damage for every 5 feet it travels. It does the equivalent of a 7th level fireball in slashing damage, and then places a 60-foot cone worth of spike growth.
Rob, I'm gonna need you to put this thing back where it came from.
Hey, look, it only gets worse from here because it's got legendary actions.
Of course, of course it has legendary actions. It's CR18, but still, this is obscene. This is vile. This is, I mean,
it'd be a fun fight, though.
I mean, you would have to. But this is like something I can see a very inexperienced DM, and I am talking about myself here. I'm calling myself out. That would throw at their party prematurely, thinking, oh, it's just an adult dragon. It's just an adult dragon. What could happen? All the things could happen.
TPK is
and then you accidentally TPK your party, and then your friends never speak to you again.
Oh, layer actions. And since we know how layer actions work, they're on an initiative count 20, and you can't use the same one twice in a row. Impelling spikes. Metallic spikes sprout from the ground beneath one creature the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. The target must make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, and on a failure, the creature takes 3d6 piercing damage and is restrained as it is impelled on magical spikes. On a success, a creature takes half the damage and isn't restrained. A creature, including the restrained target, can take its action to free the restrained target by succeeding a DC 15. Okay, that's not too bad. But being restrained while you have a dragon flying around the room is a lot. Shimmering scales. Light within the layer bends toward the dragon, reflecting brilliantly off its scales. Each creature within 30 feet of the dragon and that can see it must make a DC 15 dex save or be blinded until the end of its next turn. And Wave of Peace. A pulse of calming energy washes over the layer. Each hostile creature the dragon can see within 120 feet of it must succeed on a DC 15 charisma saving throw or become indifferent about creatures of the dragon's choice that is hostile toward it for 1 minute. This indifference ends if the target is attacked or harmed by a spell or if it witnesses any of its friends being harmed. When the effect ends, the creature can choose to become hostile again. That's one of the more interesting layer actions I've seen. To be able to, number one, after one round, to possibly restrain a target and deal 3d6 piercing damage while the dragon's flying around the room, to possibly blind people within 30 feet of it if they can't meet that DC 15 dex save, and then do an ability that just makes them indifferent to everybody around them. It's like, why am I here fighting? Let's, what a pretty dragon, until they get hit.
This is a nightmare fight. This is, I can't even put it any other way than it's just an absolute nightmare fight.
I ain't gonna lie though, this thing's cool as can possibly be. This thing's awesome. It just is what it is. I don't know if it's not a solar dragon though, because the solar dragon is the solar dragon. I don't know if we're going to find a dragon that outperforms the solar dragon, to be completely honest. I had looked at the time dragon, but the adult time dragon, I think, was just not as good as it could have been, which is why the mithril dragon's on the list instead. But honestly, I think that I would feel comfortable putting this at a number 4.
I was gonna say it's a solid Andy Serkis.
Yeah, I can't put it at the top because we've seen much better dragons at this below this level. The adult solar dragon I think was CR 16, something like that, or it might be higher. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not as good as the solar dragon. I have a deep love for the solar dragon right now. Moving on, we have the Amnizu. And God, he is a lovely guy. Ugh. Medium Fiend. Armor class of 21. 202 health. Or you can take the max of 27d8 plus 81 for a max health of 297. Movement speed of 30 with a flying speed of 40. Plus 7 to Dex and Wisdom saves, plus 9 to Con, and plus 10 to Charisma. Has a plus 7 to Perception. Resistant to cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't silvered. Immune to fire and poison. Immune to charmed and poisoned. Dark vision of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 17. Speaks Infernal and Common with a telepathy of 1,000 feet. 1,000 is just a good round number. There's something great about saying 1,000.
As a fan of the Witcher book series and video game series, I appreciate any monster that needs silver for a weapon. Like, I've played Blood Hunters. I played a Blood Hunter because I wanted to be a Witcher, okay? And
Yeah.
that's pretty much the only reason that you're going to play a Blood Hunter, is you either want to be Molly from Critical Role, or you want to basically be Geralt of Rivia in D&D. And the amount of things that actually need silver and just run-of-the-mill, your normal campaigns, very little. So I like this. This is something thematically I could play off of and almost build a campaign around, like Monster Hunters hunting something like this.
Well, I could possibly make it better by telling you where it comes from. It is from Mordecaidan Presents Monsters of the Multiverse.
Of course it is.
It's where all the good ones come from. Multi-attack. Oh, sorry. It's got Devil's Sight and Magic Resistance because we love Magic Resistance on this show. God,
that's the most sarcasm I've heard
at this
in minutes.
What doesn't have magic resistance anymore?
Well, it's almost like you need that, and especially because, like, I'm learning how to scale. Rob's teaching me how to scale monsters and stuff for my higher level campaign, and you need stuff to have resistances because your players are putting out so much damage when you're throwing these CR 18 monsters at them. You need them to have magic resistance, otherwise your fight is going to be over in 2 rounds, and I speak from experience.
Here's the thing. It's not resistant to fire, lightning, or necrotic. So, and those are the big 3 spells that do, or big 3, I guess, technical elements that do big damage the higher you go up in spells. Like, they have some of the scariest high-level spells. There's not really much for Radiant.
Necrotic is my absolute favorite for high-level spells. You know this.
Yeah, because the only one that holds a close second to it, in my mind, is lightning. Because you can do so many different things with it.
Mm-hmm.
Chain lightning and call lightning, 2 of the best offensive spells in the game. Multi-attack, the Amnizu uses Blinding Rot or Forgetfulness, if available. It also makes 2 Taskmaster Whip Oh, wow. It's got 4 attacks per action. Taskmaster Whip. Plus 11 to hit, 10-foot reach, 1d8 plus 5 slashing damage, plus 3d10 force damage. 2 of those. Blinding Rot. The Amnesu targets 1 or 2 creatures that it can see within 60 feet of it. Each creature must succeed on a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw or take 4d12 necrotic and be blinded until the start of the Amnesu's next turn.
I do not like that.
Oh, it's
as
rough.
a player, I do not like that. I do not like that you are now aware of a monster that has this in the existence.
You may want to go back and listen to some of the older monster lists because I'm aware of a lot now.
I know. I am well aware.
There's a reason.
But this like I'm personally just thinking like of how hard a more recent fight was in Rob's campaign. We had to go against a Wendigo or something like that.
Yeah, an elder Wendigo.
And yeah, almost TPK'd the party. And I'm like, you know what? He's probably going to make us go to the hells just to fight this thing. That's where my head is at right now, guys.
Well, I'll be honest. I've homebrewed something much worse than this, so don't worry.
Of course you have. Of course you have. Of course you have.
Forgetfulness on a recharge of 6. The Amnesu targets 1 creature that it can see within 60 feet of it. That creature must succeed on a DC 18 Intelligence saving throw or take 4d12 psychic damage and become stunned for 1 minute. A stunned creature repeats the saving throw at the start of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If the target is stunned for the full minute, it forgets everything it sensed, experienced, and learned during the last 5 hours. It's a memory wipe.
It's the
mind blank.
What is it? Men in Black, the little whoosh thing.
Sir, I'm going to need you to look at this real quick. What's
yeah.
We're just going to test your retinas real quick. Pew!
Yeah, pretty much.
It gets better with its spellcasting.
Of course it does.
So at will, with a spell save DC of 19, at will it knows Command, 3 times per day Dominate Monster, and once per day Feeble Mind.
I hate Feeble Mind.
I got hit by Feeble Mind in a previous campaign when I was playing a ranger, and I sat there and drooled the whole game. Luckily, I was still able to make attacks, but I literally sat there and drooled for like 45 minutes in real life. I was just like, okay, make an attack. Hey, man, you okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, any monster, any creature, anything you're fighting that has Feeble Mind instantly is a top spot contender, because that if you can't fix Feeble Mind, that is worse than a character death, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you are going to be forced to make a new character anyways, but your previous character is left in such a state
he goes back to become a farmer. Death by
yeah,
farming.
pretty much like that. Or like if you have somebody who's like me and kind of cruel, I'd say okay, you go to an asylum or something like that.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you got a point, because if it's both it's intelligence and charisma, so your wisdom doesn't leave. So you could technically become a farmer. You wouldn't be completely useless. You just would mix up the seeds that you have for your wheat with the gravel out of your driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it would be, yeah, anything with Feeble Mind is definitely top spot contender in my book, just because I think it's one of the most cruel spells. Like, it's a great spell for a player to take, but at the same time, it is a cruel spell.
And it's not the only one. There are a lot like that. And that's not all this thing has available to it. As a reaction, it has Instinctive Charm. When a creature within 60 feet of the Amnesu makes an attack roll against it, and another creature is within the attack's range, The attacker must make a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the attacker must target the creature that is closest to it, not including Amnesu or itself. If multiple creatures are the closest, the attacker chooses which one to target. If the saving throw is successful, you're immune to it for 24 hours. Now, just imagine that, because in my game, we have Aurora, who does good damage up close because of the Sunblade, and Tally, who does great damage because of her Bard and Rogue multi-class combo.
Barbarian, not Bard.
Barb. I thought I said a B. Barbarian. And then we have Tally with, pretty decent health. Aurora, kind of not so much. And then Reckless Attack. You fail the Wisdom save. Nat 20. Take 53 damage, Aurora.
Yeah, no, I like, it's why when I play like a caster character that has access to it, I take Crown of Madness. Because it's very similar to the spell that you could take that is Crown of Madness, because you basically force them to attacks. But the question is, my question is, because Crown of Madness has the very specific wording of humanoid, which doesn't apply to some player races, like, especially when you get into the third-party ones. Like, some of them are considered undead. I played a character that was considered an undead, so, like, Crown of Madness didn't affect her. Does this affect anyone?
When a creature within 60 feet of the Amnesu makes an attack roll against it, doesn't matter what. You could have a dragon. You could have a dragon fighting this thing with you, and that dragon will then have to roll its breath weapon attack at you instead of the Amnesu if it fails the save.
I have a different character that's named the same character, Tally. I use the same name a lot, so sue me. But she plays like a vampire class that's from Mr. Rex's Monster Classes book.
Yeah.
And she has this thing called a blood spear, and I've sent you screenshots of this. She can do insane damage.
Oh, no.
And her with that, because she's undead, because Crown of Madness tried to be cast on her, and I argued that it wouldn't work because she's considered undead. And that's how we spared a complete TPK of the party. But this...
That's crazy.
No, Tally would decimate an entire room in 2 turns.
I think this guy deserves a 5.
I do. I mean, on those 2 spells of having Feeble Mind and this, like, charisma thing, like, charm thing, fam. Like, that's Bernard Hill. That is top tier right there, just on spell list alone. Let's not consider everything else. Because everything else is still good.
And here's the thing. There's no limit to that. So each time you attack it, you make a DC Wisdom saving throw or you hit your buddy.
A very cruel DM could do ridiculous things with this.
Oh, yeah. I could do very ridiculous things with this.
I know you could. It's why I'm concerned.
Next up, we have the Archaic, our Gargantuan Celestial. And it's absolutely great to see more Celestials on the list because they're awesome, to be completely honest. They have some of the best abilities that you can see in a game that normally you don't see because you don't really run into a whole lot of them.
No, Celestia is a pretty interesting realm in general.
It's not one that I would want to wind up stranded in.
Oh, heck no. I would love to do, like, we were just talking about in the Discord about a Feywild campaign, and I was like, you know what? Thinking about it, Celestia would be so much worse than the Feywilds. So much worse.
Armor class of 20, 245 health, or you can take the max of 14d20 plus 98 for a max health of 378 with a movement speed of 40. Plus 6 to dexterity saves, plus 14 to intelligence, 13 to wisdom, and 11 to charisma. Plus 20 to arcana, 11 to deception, 20 to history, and 13 to perception. resistant to force, immune to poison and psychic, immune to these following conditions: charmed, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, and stunned. True sight of 120 feet with a passive perception of 23. And it knows all languages. Enigmatic mind. The archaic's mind can't be read. Creatures can communicate telepathically with the archaic only if it allows so, and magic can't determine whether the archaic is lying.
There goes your aberrant mind supremacy there.
There goes
Great.
your bard, too.
Yeah.
That makes the bard useless. 3 uses of legendary resistance, like he needs it. And unusual nature. Surprisingly, he doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. He also has multi-attack. He makes 2 force strike attacks, and it can also use gravity shift if available. The force strike is a melee or range spell attack, plus 14 to hit, 15-foot reach or a range of 120, 2d10 plus 8 force damage, and the target is pulled up to 10 feet toward the archaic or pushed 10 feet away from it as the archaic so chooses. This thing is all about battlefield control. It can
Again,
keep you close or far away, push you away.
I think maybe one of the only things that could contend against this, especially with like the gravity and the like pulling people around and stuff, isn't even like a 5e subclass per se. Like the Graviturgy Wizard is probably the only one that might be able to have like some sort of potential against it, but it's resistant to so much.
It would have to be some kind of spellcaster that would stand even a chance because of gravity shift. On a recharge of 5 to 6, the archaic reverses gravity for 1 creature that it can see within 100 feet of itself. The creature must succeed on a DC 22 wisdom saving throw or fall 100 feet upward. If the falling creature encounters a solid object, such as a ceiling, in this fall, it strikes the object just as it would during a downward fall. If the creature reaches the top of the area without striking anything, it hovers there until the start of the archaic's next turn, at which time gravity returns to normal and the creature falls.
No, that's nightmare fuel for me. I don't like heights to start with. Nope, that's a big no.
22 wisdoms. The cleric, the ranger, and the druid are the only ones ever going to make that. If you really think about it.
Yeah.
Because they're proficient with wisdom saves, but that's insane. Because, okay, 60-foot ceiling, 6d6 damage. Start of your next turn, unless you're able to cast Featherfall, another 6d6 damage. Or you take 10d6 damage from falling 100 feet.
That's what I'm most concerned about.
Ooh. I'd like to see this thing do it to a purple worm, though. Because that'd be funny. That'd be funny as... Oh, man. A gargantuan purple worm, 100 feet long, just flies upward 100 feet suddenly. And then, 6 seconds later, comes tumbling back down to the earth and causes a 6.3 magnitude earthquake in a nearby village.
Don't like that visual image either. That's just... It would squish many people.
Guess what? It's got spellcasting.
Of course it does.
With a spell save DC of 22 based on intelligence, because I didn't mention it, but it's got a 27 intelligence. Oh, Duck. It's got 1 ability below 20, and that's dexterity. It's got a 25 strength, 24 con, 27 intelligence, 24 wisdom, and 20 charisma.
I don't like this.
So, at will, it knows detect magic, divination, and sending. And 1 time per day for each banishment and force cage. 2 of the best control spells in the game. Oh, and it can teleport. to an unoccupied space that it can see within 120 feet of itself at will as an action. And this thing is gargantuan, so realistically, I know on a battle map it only takes up, what, 20 feet squared?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? This 150-foot tall archaic is just going to teleport 120 feet. For free?
This is insane.
Oh, it gets worse.
Of course it does.
As a
Of course
reaction.
it does.
As a reaction, it has spell mimicry 1 time per day. Immediately after a creature the archaic can see casts a spell of 5th level or lower, that creature must succeed on a DC 22 charisma saving throw, or the archaic immediately casts the same spell at the same level, plus 14 to hit with spell attacks and a spell save DC of 22, requiring no material components and choosing the spell's targets.
My inflict wounds is totally screwed now.
Yeah. Or fireball, or lightning bolt, or
Blight.
yeah, blight's a 4th level spell. Heck, polymorph. It could use polymorph and turn the one person that's been doing something to him into a rat, and then just never touch him.
No, I don't like this. This is one I just don't like. It's nope. This is just a whole big 100 and whatever foot tall bag of no.
Legendary actions. It can use strike. 1 strike attack. 4 strike. It can use its teleport or unravel magic. Cost 2 legendary actions. The archaic targets 1 creature it can see within 120 feet of itself. The target must succeed on a DC 22 saving throw, con save, or take 10d6 force damage, and each spell of 5th level or lower on the target ends.
That
That's not okay. That is not okay.
so much.
This is...
I
Where's this guy from?
Celestia.
Oh, no. It's from Strixhaven.
Of course it's from Strixhaven, the same book that gave us Silvery Barbs.
This is why they gave us Silvery Barbs.
Yeah, this is exactly why Silvery Barbs exists. All the DM out there who are like, Silvery Barbs is the bane of your existence, it's banned at your table, this is why.
This has become the BBEG for one of my future campaigns. I promise you that much now. This is a 5. This thing is awesome. It is so good. It's a bit ridiculous how good it is, to be completely honest.
It's insane how good it is.
Oh, what was next? We have up next the... Oh, I'll butcher this name. The Borborygmos. 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 We have Borbor.
Barbar.
We have the Borbor. Huge giant. Actually, it kind of looks like a well, it's a Cyclops with like Iron Bull's horns.
Cool. It's a vibe.
Armor class of 14. 270 health, or you can take the max of 20d12 plus 140 for a max health of 380.
I like it.
Movement speed of 40, plus 13 to strength and con saves, and plus 9 to wisdom, plus 13 to athletics, and 9 to insight and survival. Resistant to poison and psychic, immune to charmed and frightened, tremor sense of 60 feet, and a passive perception of a whopping 13. Nothing's getting by that. Forget it. 20th level rogue, you're being seen. He's got his eye on you. The one that he has. 3 uses of legendary resistance. Poor depth perception. Borbor has disadvantage on any attack roll against the target more than 30 feet away. But he's got Siege Monster. Multi-attack, Borbor can use his Frightful Presence, and then he makes 2 attacks, one with his Maul and one with his Stomp. The Maul is a plus 13 to hit, 10-foot reach, 6d6 plus 7 bludgeoning damage, and if the target's a creature, it must succeed on a DC 21 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. I think that should be higher.
I do too.
A huge giant. The Stomp is a plus 13 to hit, 5-foot reach, 2d10 plus 7 bludgeoning damage, or a rock with a range of 30 feet or disadvantage up to 120, 4d10 plus 7 bludgeoning damage, and Frightful Presence. Here's where he gets kind of cool. With legendary actions, he can make an attack, or for 2 actions, he can use Bellow. Borbor yells menacingly at one creature he can see within 60 feet of him. That creature must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or become frightened of him for 1 minute. If the creature is already frightened, it becomes stunned instead. You can repeat the saving throw at the end of your turn, and if you succeed, you're immune for 24 hours. Wide Berth for 3 actions. Borbor moves up to half his speed and can move through the space of any creature smaller than huge. The first time Borbor enters a creature's space during this move, the creature must make a DC 21 dexterity saving throw. If the save succeeds, the creature is pushed 5 feet away from Borbor. If the saving throw fails, that creature is knocked prone and Borbor can make a stomp attack against it. So he just runs 20 feet through like 4 people of your party, knocking them prone possibly, and stomping all 4 of them for 2d10 plus 7 to eat.
It's funny you compared him in looks to like Iron Bull, but with 1 eye. I don't think you've played Dragon Age 2. I don't think you have.
Not.
Okay, so there's a pretty well-known boss battle in the second act Dragon Age 2 called you gotta fight the Aeroshock. I mean, it's a really old game, so spoilers, I guess. But this is pretty much what the whole fight is. Yeah, I would probably, like, if I wanted to recreate the fight from Dragon Age 2, because the Aeroshock just chases you around a room, tries to knock you down, and then just, like, womp on you until your hawk is just nothing but pudding on the floor. That sounds like what this guy does.
It's like I said in the past episodes, it's great to have when you have these other monsters like the Archaic and the Amnesu that are overly complicated, to have one that's good but extremely simple. Like this dude probably couldn't, I know he couldn't keep up with the Archaic. He probably couldn't keep up too easily with the Amnesu. But just as he is, he could keep up with a party of 6 11th level adventurers.
Yeah. Easy.
Just solely based on Bellow and Wide Berth. Because if they fail to frighten for the Frightful Presence, then 1 to, or even 4 become stunned. And then he uses Wide Berth. And if they're stunned, that attacks at advantage.
Yeah.
Well, it would be advantage already if they fail to save, but they'd have that save at disadvantage because of being stunned. Or no, stunned, they'd automatically fail, I think.
I think it's auto crit for stun.
No, only for paralyzed, and it's only for melee attacks. I think paralyzed is the only one that's an auto crit. Yeah. I think so. You got me doubting myself now, Duck.
I don't know, because I think it's auto crit in Baldur's Gate 3, and I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 the last couple of days, so I might be confusing D&D and Baldur's Gate 3 right now.
Let's find out. Stunned You're incapacitated. A creature drops whatever it's holding and fall. Oh, that's unconscious. The stunned creature is incapacitated, can't move, automatically fails strength and dex saves, and attack rolls against it have advantage. So paralyzed would be the only one that's an automatic crit.
Okay. But
Next,
still, that's just. Listen, as a barbarian who has crappy wisdom, let me just say, this monster would, even though, like, I could see in a couple of levels our party in your game taking one of these on and being able to succeed, Tally would have a rough time. She'd have a real rough time, fam.
I think he's a 3. He's not. He's cool enough to be midway up the list because he's useful. Because he's a good hard combat for an inexperienced DM.
The only reason I'm gonna say a 2, and this is a bold assertion that I'm saying a 2, is because
he has 2 eyes.
Well, no, obviously not. He's a cyclops basically, but because like compared to some of the other monsters on the list, he's just not as impressive. Like I'm not gonna give him a 1 because he's still like a good contender. Like you said, he's a good monster for somebody who's like more newer to DMing, that's running a high level campaign. I mean, I'll probably adapt his stat block for my game, but compared to the other 2, I'm compared to that mithril dragon, nah, fam. Like it can't be a 3. It can't be that close to the mithril dragon.
I can get that. The only reason that I can put him at a 3 is based solely on the combination of bellow and wide berth. That's only
why he's
reason.
A 2. That's why he's a 2.
No, that's what bumps him to 3, Duck. Come on.
Alright. I'll give you this one. We'll say he's 3, but technically it's a 2.5.
I was about to say the next 2 there's 2 on this list specifically for your enjoyment, which is now, because now we have the cosmic horror.
Yee.
Straight out of Boo's Astral Menagerie. It is a gargantuan aberration. 15 AC, 280 health, or you can take the maximum of 16 D20 plus 112 for a max health of, oh, come on, 432. Movement speed of 50 and a flying speed of 100. Intelligence save plus 13 and plus 13 to charisma, plus 8 to wisdom, immune to acid and poison, immune to charmed, frightened, and poisoned, dark vision of 240 feet, passive perception of 12. He's got a whole lot of eyes to be that. He's got a whole lot of eyes to be that bad perception. He's got 12 eyes, and he can't perceive anything.
I mean, that's relatable, though.
3 uses of legendary resistance and unusual nature. He has to eat. He just doesn't have to breathe.
Okay.
Multi-attack. The horror makes 1 bite attack and 2 tentacle attacks. The bite is plus 14 to hit, 10-foot reach, 4d6 plus 8 piercing damage. The tentacle, plus 14 to hit, reach of 30 feet, 3d6 plus 8 force damage, and if the target is a creature, it's grappled with an escape DC of 18. Until the grapple ends, the horror can't use this tentacle again against other targets. The horror has 1d8 plus 1 tentacles, each of which can grapple 1 target. And it would be hilarious if you rolled a 1.
In my luck, I would.
Psychic Whispers, recharge of 5 to 6. The horror emits dreadful whispers in a 60-foot radius sphere centered on itself. Each creature in the sphere that isn't an aberration must make a DC 21 wisdom saving throw or take 6d10 psychic damage on a failed save. Half as much on a successful. Legendary actions. It's just getting better. Crushing Tentacle. The horror crushes one target as grappling. The grappled creature must make a DC 22 con save or take 3d6 plus 8 force damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. For 2 actions, Poison Jet, Foul Gas. Okay, they could have worded this so much better. Foul gas squirts from the horror in a 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide. Each creature in the line must succeed on a DC 21 Constitution save or take 4d6 poison damage. Or for 2 actions, it can teleport up to 120 feet along with any creature is grappling. That teleport, if it grapples, if it's got 9 tentacles and grapples 4 of your companions and then teleports 120 feet and just sits there crushing, and then squirts on them with its poison jet.
It looks so cool, though.
Oh, it does look cool. You realize it's a gargantuan. It's a space purple worm.
It's not Cthulhu, but it's Cthulhu adjacent.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm a big Lovecraft person. I love Call of Cthulhu. This is just something that is known about me at this point. And I don't know. I love Eldritch horror. I like the genre of Eldritch horrors, and this fits its namesake of it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. For me, I think it's a 4.
It's probably a 4. Like, I'm not going to give it top spot just because, I think it's cool.
And I'm basing that because of the other aberration that's on the list. Because I took a glance at the other aberration. And the other aberration, although it's only a medium or small, would kick the crap out of this thing.
Just as a side note, like, I do say a lot of, like, the monsters, because, like, the booze thing is, it goes with Spelljammer. So a lot of the monsters and stuff, they introduced a lot of really cool Eldritch horror monsters with Spelljammer, and I know Spelljammer gets a bad rap, but for somebody who really enjoys, like, this stuff, the fact that you included some aberrations on the list just for little old me, I feel special.
Well, I put a monstrosity in for myself, so don't feel too special. Next up, we have the Demilich, one of those that is a cornerstone of Dungeons and Dragons. It is a tiny undead, but it's got a 20 AC and 80 health, or you can take the maximum of 32d4 for a max health of 128. 0 foot of movement, but it can fly 30 feet. It's got a whopping 1 in strength.
It's a Demilich. What do you want?
It's a floating skull. But it's got +6 to con saves, +11 to intelligence and charisma, and +9 to wisdom. Resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from magic weapons. Immune to necrotic, poison, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So it's
all my favorite things.
It's just resistant to all weapons, pretty much. Immune to the conditions of charmed, deafened, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and stunned. True sight of 120 feet and a passive perception of 13. It is considered a CR 20 when in its lair. Avoidance. If the Demilich is subjected to an effect that allows it to make a saving throw to take only half damage, it instead takes no damage if it succeeds the saving throw and only half damage if it fails. This is why it only has 80 health. Because it has 3 uses of legendary resistance.
Yeah.
And it's got turn immunity. As an action, it has Howl on a recharge of 5 to 6. The Demilich emits a blood-curdling howl. We're going to say that it's the Aztec death whistle. Each creature within 30 feet of the Demilich that can hear the howl must succeed on a DC 15 con save or drop to 0 hit points.
That's fun.
It's not if you're below a certain threshold. It's you die.
Yeah.
It goes, woo, and you die.
Yep.
Done. Over. Nada. No more. But on a successful save, the target's frightened until the end of its next turn. It is literally a floating Aztec death whistle.
Is it an undead or?
It is considered a tiny undead.
So all you need is a cleric and turn undead.
Nope, it's immune.
Oh, it's immune to turn undead? Oh, yeah. Great, fantastic.
You're just screwed. If you can't make a con save, you're dead.
So basically, you've got your sorcerers who could probably make it because they have proficiency in con saves.
Your wizard.
You have barbarians.
Yeah, your fighter.
But I think like the only caster really that has proficiency in con save is sorcerer.
Yeah.
Or do wizards get it?
No, I was thinking wisdom for some reason. But yeah, con. As far as con goes, realistically, you only see a good con, obviously, on fighters and barbarians. Sorcerers, for sure. You might see one on a ranger. You might see one on a cleric. And that's it. Oh, and a paladin. You might see a good con on a paladin if they've built, if they rolled good.
But I'm talking about, like, who has the proficiency bonuses, because I think that's really only barbarian and sorcerer.
Yes. Barbarian, sorcerer. I think that is the only two, because the fighters is strength and dexterity.
Yeah, because
the same for the ranger.
Those happen to be the two classes that because I know Constitution, believe it or not, is probably one of the most important stats in the entire game, not just because it gives you HP, but because of your concentration as a spellcaster.
It is the most important, because whenever we were talking about the power gap, we determined if we put everything at 0, it's a little bit of a tangent, but you'll see what I'm getting at here. If we put absolutely everything at 0, strength to charisma, the power gap is not so much how much damage you can output, but how much damage you can take. Because at first level, the fighter gets a D10. Plus 0, he's a 10. The wizard or the sorcerer gets a D6. They're at 6. The fighter has a higher chance of one-shotting that wizard or sorcerer than the sorcerer or the wizard has of one-shotting the fighter. And the only chance they have is really magic missile. And you still have to rely on it rolling at least 10. And if you go into, okay, well, yeah, that's an automatic hit.
Firebolt.
Well, yeah, there's Firebolt too, but it's not an automatic hit. But we do have to base it on everything hitting. Because you have a 1 in 10 chance compared to a little bit better with Magic Missile. Then you also have to take into account, well, what's the difference? Wizard versus Sorcerer. Magic Missile is an automatic death. That's the power gap.
Fair.
That's the power gap. But yeah, this thing is ridiculous. Oh, Life Drain. We forgot.
Yeah, Life Drain. That's a classic Demiliches. Like, anytime I've seen one at play, like, Life Drain is always a go-to move.
But speaking of Life Drain, the Demilich targets up to 3 creatures that it can see within 10 feet of it. Each target must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or take 6d6 necrotic damage, and the Demilich regains hit points equal to the total damage dealt to all targets. Once again, we're seeing why it barely has any health.
Because the Demilich generally is just a very powerfully, magically powerful creature. And, I mean, it's like the Ruin of Vecna is the new Wizards of the Coast campaign that they just released. You're going to see so many Demiliches and liches in the Ruin of Vecna. I was just looking at the monsters from it.
Like, realistically, it's kind of giving me Mummy Lord vibes. The only hit it takes is its maximum health, because even if you take the maximum of 32d4, that's only 100 and what? 132, maybe? Yeah, 132 health. But even still, if you've got 6 adventurers and 3 of them fail that Constitution saving throw, that's 6d6. Average of a d6 is 4. So 6 times 4. I mean, even the average here that they've got on the stat block is 21. Times that by 3.
Yeah.
62 health. He regains 62 health.
It's
In
ridiculous,
one
right?
turn. Yeah, it's almost, it's kind of like the epic boon that we talked about back when 1D&D was first announced. I can't remember the name of it, but you could use a bonus action to heal yourself for half your hit point maximum. Now you throw that on a 20th level barbarian with 320 health. It's
I like
stupid.
that idea.
Oh, it's insane because
Oh.
it's ridiculous.
I mean, the thing about Demiliches is they are, and this is a bold assertion to say, but as far as necrotic monsters, undead creatures in D&D, they are a classic for all times, and one should be in every game. It's a bold statement, but I said what I said.
No, I somewhat agree with that. I don't know how well a Demilich would fit into something like Curse of Strahd, just because it's mainly more along the lines of like, I guess what would be like the Dracula type undead. But you could probably fit one in there pretty easily. A Demilich would go into Candlekeep Mysteries pretty easily. Not even so much as a combat, but just the little talking skull that you have that you get your quests from.
It's we talked about it last time I was on it. It's the Planescapes setting.
Yeah.
In the adventure for that, I think it's like Turn of Wheels Fortune or Wheel of Fortune. It's something Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
Something like that.
Pat Sajak himself.
But the first character you meet in that campaign is a floating skull, basically a Demilich.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most iconic little characters that you meet in the first session. And when I played in that game, our first session, half of that session was just spent talking to that floating skull.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, that's not all this dude's getting. It has legendary actions and layer actions, because remember, it was a CR20 with its layer. So as far as the legendary actions, it can use its flight to where it flies up to half its flying speed, so 15 feet. Or it can use Cloud of Dust. The Demilich magically swirls in dusty remains. Each creature within 10 feet of the Demilich, including around a corner, must succeed a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be blinded until the end of the Demilich's next turn. A creature that succeeds on the saving throw is immune to this effect until the end of the Demilich's next turn. It's a low save, but even still, like your Barbarian Tally, you can always roll low.
Thanks.
I'm not speaking from watching you do so. I'm just saying.
Just because she's the queen of nat ones.
I mean, fair. There's also Energy Drain for two actions. Each creature within 30 feet of the Demilich must make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature's hit point maximum is magically reduced by 3d6.
I hate that. I love that and I hate that.
If a creature's hit point maximum is reduced to 0 by this effect, the creature dies. A creature's hit point maximum can be restored with the Greater Restoration spell or similar magic, and that's if somebody thinks to take it.
That's if you even have a cleric. It's really only if you have a cleric.
Well,
pretty much.
Well, not even so much a cleric, because the Artificer, Bard, and Druid can also get that spell.
Fair, but how many druids do you? Yeah. How many bards do you know are going to take it though?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. How many artificers, bards, and druids are going to take Greater Restoration? That's the same conversation that me and Eric got into. There was a spell, I think it was, it might have been Lesser Restoration or one of the other Remove Curse spell type things, that it's available to a wizard. it's on the wizard spell list. How many wizards do you know are going to pick up that spell or a spell like that? Probably not.
None.
They're going to be focused on Ebenezer Scorcher and Scorching Ray and Haste and Misty Step and Thunderstep, stuff like that.
It depends. It depends because I also see wizards. There's a lot of utility to wizards.
Oh, there's a ton of just haste. Period. Enough said.
But sorcerers can twin spell haste, so
Yeah, well, you know what I mean though, because it's another one of those deals. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been available to the sorcerer. The likelihood of somebody taking a spell like this on a sorcerer or wizard is kind of low. Not
yeah, I don't think I've ever
completely,
taken
but...
any kind of restoration spell on any sorcerer.
And then finally, Vile Curse. Costs 3 actions. The Demilich targets one creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or be magically cursed. Until the curse ends, the target has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, and the target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the curse on a success. It doesn't say that you become immune to it. So it uses this. You somehow fail this DC 15 Wisdom saving throw because not everybody's good at Wisdom. Then you have disadvantage on the Constitution saving throw for Howl and Life Drain.
That would be horrible for Tally because girl got no wisdom.
Oh, it's. I don't think there's anybody in the party that has Wisdom outside of Soul.
No, no.
Does.
Foromir's got wisdom. He's a druid.
Oh yeah. Yep, you're right. He just has no dexterity.
Yeah, he's like no dexterity.
The Demilich is probably, I don't know. I don't think it's a 5, but I don't think it's any lower than a 4 because it's not doing the same things. Like, it's not an adult mithril dragon.
It's a solid 4.5.
Yeah.
If a 4.5 exists on this list, it's a 4.5.
If we were to throw in the layer actions as well and consider it a CR20, then technically it'd be a 5 because of the special things that it gets. But because we're covering it at CR18, 4 or 4.5 would probably be the best place to put this little dude.
But this is kind of me issuing a challenge to DMs out there who may be listening to the podcast. This is actually a creature that you can use as an NPC in your game and have it not be a combatant at all and still have it be an interesting plot point in your story. And I think using a Demilich to that kind of thing does kind of give it an edge over some of the monsters because you can use it as an NPC too.
Absolutely. And it could be one of the funnest NPCs that you run too, especially if it's somebody that in Candlekeep Mysteries, even if it's not in there from if it's not in there from Wizards of the Coast or whoever put that, I think it was Wizards of the Coast.
It is Wizards of the Coast that did Candlekeep.
So even if that creature's not in there, put them in there. Why? Just for the heck of it.
Because nobody's gonna sit there and talk to a talking skull and you get to do all kinds of crazy stuff like send them on missions.
And it's funny that you keep mentioning Candlekeep because a friend of mine is getting ready to run their very first D&D campaign and we're going to be doing Candlekeep Mystery for it. And yeah.
It's not easy to run.
No, but it's also compared to a lot of the other pre-made campaigns, it's easier. And I'm actually probably going to suggest to her to use a Demilich at various points in the story because it is such a fun little thing to do because you can go off the wall with it too.
Oh, absolutely. You can have this guy become the funniest person that you ever meet, like with ease.
A Demilich could easily become your party's favorite NPC.
Yeah. A floating comedian. He would be a stand-up, but he has no legs. Moving on, we have a little bit of a insertion for my own favorite monster type, the Raptnon. A gargantuan monstrosity and very intimidating from the picture that's on this website. Good Lord. AC of 18, and a max health of 264, or you can take the maximum of 16 D20 plus 96 for a max health of 416.
Okay.
Movement speed of 40, burrow of 20, and climbing of 30. Plus 11 to strength saving throws, 9 to dexterity and wisdom, and 12 to constitution. This is a gargantuan monstrosity with a plus 9 to dex saves.
My lightning bolt loving behind is so messed up right now over this, because like when I play a sorcerer, I do a lot of dex-based save spells because a lot of stuff that you come up against just statistically does not necessarily have the best dex. My strat would be busted by this monster.
Oh, it absolutely would be. Because you think about it, it's like, oh, there's a gargantuan thing with like 30-foot tusks and stuff standing in front of us. I'll just launch a lightning bolt because what's the likelihood of it dodging it? Next thing you know, it pulls a one-punch man and it's standing beside you.
Yeah, no.
Nah, I'm good.
I good on that one. I'm very good.
This is Godzilla doing that sliding drop kick.
This is Godzilla with Kung Fu.
Plus 11 to athletics and plus 9 to perception. Immune to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from magical weapons. Oh, and all damage from spells.
This is just, you want to TPK your party, run this monster.
Immune to charmed, exhaustion, frightened to stunned and unconscious, dark vision of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 19. 3 uses of legendary resistance, magic resistance, and undying. Unless the Raptnon's stillborn heart is removed from its pool, the Raptnon's death is temporary. One of its countless Zacalonus offspring grows into the Raptnon in 24 hours. In addition, the Raptnon loses its immunities if the stillborn heart is removed from the pool. Looky there, there's some storytelling with this.
Well, like, so basically, you have to try and get this heart out before you can even really do any damage.
Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't tell you where this is from, and you're going to realize exactly why it's built the way that it is when I tell you what source book it came from. Grim Hollow, Layers of Itharis.
Okay, that makes total sense, because if
It
you're
makes
in Grim
perfect
Hollow, like, if you're doing Grim Hollow, it's a whole different beast.
So, multi-attack, the Raptnon makes 3 melee attacks, 1 bite and 2 claws. Alternatively, the Raptnon can make 2 spine attacks. The bite is a plus 11 to hit, 3d8 plus 5 piercing damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 20 Constitution saving throw or be incapacitated until the end of the Raptnon's next turn.
I don't like this. Tally would not fare well.
The claws. Well, luckily it's a Constitution saving throw, but with your rolls. The claws, plus 11 to hit, 10-foot reach, 4d10 plus 5 slashing damage. And the spine, plus 11 to hit, range of 60 feet, and it is a melee attack. 4d8 plus 5 piercing damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 20 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the target is knocked prone and restrained. The target must escape to remove the restrained condition and be able to stand with a DC of 20.
I'm trying to think if any character I've built within the last year could go up against this.
The only character I had that could have done anything would have been Ford, because his weapon was not magical.
Maybe Maeve, who's like an NPC in my game, at top level. like when she gets to like exalted stages, like maybe she might be able to, because like she'll be able to basically use Misty Step without spell points. But
Yeah.
otherwise, like I don't even think my vampire could go up against this and survive. This is a beastly beast.
This is the one person. This is the one thing that where you have your +3 sword. You put that, you sheathed that, and pulled out your starting long sword again.
Yeah, pretty
And that's
much.
the only thing that's going to do it.
Or you have a monk.
Well, nope. By you say that, but by 6th level, all of their attacks are counted as
Oh
magical.
yeah, they're magical.
Yep, they are immediately counted as magical at 6th level.
Chris might be able to hold his own.
Well, yeah, Chris. If it becomes paralyzed, Chris, We're not going to talk about the 84 damage that Chris did in one turn.
For the in my defense as a DM about that, like they hold personed, and I forgot that there was somebody who had hold person in the group. That was my own fault for not looking at y'all's spells.
Well, a forewarning, the next character's got it as well with a
I
higher
know, I
DC.
know, I know. It's a
But-
bard. Of course they have hold person.
But for future reference, keep in mind that only melee attacks are considered a critical on a paralyzed creature.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's that too. As a reaction, spawn Zacalonus. I guess that's how you pronounce it. If the Rapnon takes 20 points of damage or more from a single attack, it can spawn a Zacalonus, which appears in a space adjacent to the Rapnon and attacks on the same initiative count as the Rapnon. So let me just do this real quick and find out exactly what a Zacalonus is.
So really, like the strat for this from like a party perspective is you need to use your most basic weapons, and you just need to chip damage off little at a time. Little at a time. Like if you're rolling 6 for damage against this, that's actually pretty decent damage. Like it's gonna be the longest fight. Like this is a fight that I could see taking multiple sessions because of just how you just have to like tick it away basically.
I'm trying my best to find out exactly what it is, but it's not really giving me much of anything. Okay. Reddit, this gets rules. Come on. So it's not going to give me the stat block or anything, but it's really struggling to give me anything. That's Demiplane. That's the Juggernaut. Yeah, I am unable to find. Wow, I am unable to find a stat block for the Zacalonus.
It's probably in the Grim Hollow books, to be honest.
It probably is. And that is on D&D Beyond for anybody that would be interested or has it to where you can look it up. And if anything, the link to the Discord is in the description for this episode. So because I'm struggling to find it so much, I'm not going to be able to go into as much detail as I would like to. Send it to us. We want to see what this thing is, especially if it's spawning in every 20 points of damage that the Rapnon takes. Oh, also, Duck, good news. It's got legendary actions.
Of course it does.
It can use its claw, or for 2 actions, it can use Baneful Howl. The Rapnon casts Bane as a 3rd level spell, DC 20 to resist.
I do love a good Bane, so I can't be mad.
Life Drain.
Of course.
1 Zacalonus within 30 feet of the Rapnon dies. The Rapnon regains hit points equal to half the hit points of the Zacalonus that died. And it would be nice to know what the hit points for the Zacalonus would be. But this right here is exactly why I love monstrosities, because they're not overly complicated. They don't do all kinds of ooga booga stuff realistically. Aberrations can sometimes do a little bit too much, and so can undead. Especially once you get up into like the lich and stuff like that. They're doing a lot. Monstrosities are there. They're big. They're simple to run. They have like an AoE ability, or maybe like a breath weapon, or a like a decaying stench within 15 feet of them, and then they just smack the crap out of you.
I think it's just like you liking monstrosities and me liking aberrations and undead really just kind of like speaks to the two different styles of games that we run too, because like you want to make us afraid by the actual combat.
Yeah.
I want to make you afraid at the idea of fighting this thing. Because I want you to usually try and you like all moms out there, I want you to use your words.
See that right there is part of the reason why I let off with Crixus the way that I did. Because it was a wake-up call to be like, oh, this is the kind of stuff we're fighting. It wasn't so much of a... It was like a realization of this world is a lot more dangerous than the ones I may have previously played in.
Yeah.
Because there's some stupid stuff walking around. Mainly because it was built by a very evil DM that's got a big ego about how he builds his NPCs.
Well, and then like you have mine where I'm basing it off of a video game and I'm adapting it, but I'm also trying to tell a very unique story that is emotionally is mostly emotionally driven for the most part, and like there are BBEGs, but it's not like you fight them once and then you're done. Like you're gonna be fighting people multiple times, you're gonna lose. Like it's we toy with our players in different ways. It's like you're a May Gemini, I'm a June Gemini. They're two totally different beasts, and our games definitely reflect that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we're recording this on May, what is today, 14th?
Yeah.
Hey, my birthday's in 10 days.
And my birthday's in a month.
Happy birthday to me first.
Yeah, you first, then me.
The rap.
But I have you in years. I have you in years. Like, I was born years before you, so.
I wouldn't brag about that.
I'm fine with that. I you know what? I don't care. I'm not one of those people who's mad about getting older. I'm fine. Like, I'm settling into my swamp witch era, okay?
Where did Duck go? I thought she was supposed to be part of the podcast. She moved down to Louisiana in a hut. She's like playing with frogs and newts now. I don't know what's going on.
And collecting pretty rocks and just becoming like
finally get you on a Zoom call and it's like double boil and trouble. You okay, bud?
No.
No, this crow looked at me weird the other day, so now he's a supper.
Listen, that's a valid reason to be angry.
I think the Rapnon is like the Demilich. I can't put it at 5 because of the Mithril Dragon, but I can't put it any lower 4 because it is an absolute unit of a monstrosity.
It's a fun guy. It would be fun to run. It would be a nightmare to fight, but fun as a DM to run.
Yeah, that's completely true. Next up, we have Lord of the Hunt. Now, this guy is coming from one of our favorites, Cobalt Press, out of Tome of Beasts 1, the same place we got the Mithril Dragon. It's a medium fae with an armor class of 19. Max health of 229, or you can take the maximum of 27 D8 plus 108 for a max health of 324.
That's a beefy boy.
40-foot movement speed, plus 11 to strength saves, 10 to wisdom, and 8 to charisma. Surprise, he's a fae. Plus 11 to athletics and 10 to perception and survival. Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't made with cold iron weapons. Now, obviously, we've never run into any of that because we haven't played in a Cobalt Press game yet, but I figure it's going to be somewhat similar to adamantine.
Well, here's my thing, because that's something from Celtic lore. Like, that right there is accurate to the Celtic lore of the Fae. And that's usually why I have such a problem with the Feywilds and Fey in D&D, because I come from an Irish background. I'm very familiar with like the myths and the legends around the Fey. This is a more lore accurate Fey. Like I could see you bringing this in if we were to do something with Fey in your world. Like I could see having to deal with like cold steel iron type thing with weapons and things like that.
I've thought about it, especially since I still have to write like 11th level up. But I mean, it's very possible because there's not as too much of a spoiler, but there's going to be some realm hopping in the future.
Well, here's my like, and this is what I've said to you in private conversations between us. Like, you have all of Tir Nanog that you could explore and turn into your Feywilds, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Immune to cold and poison, immune to charmed, exhaustion, frightened, and poisoned, blindsided 10 feet, dark vision of 120, and a passive perception of 20. Huntsman's weapons. The Lord of the Hunt's weapon attacks are magical. When he hits with any weapon, the weapon deals an extra 4d6 poison damage, and it's included in the attack, so we'll see that repeating. 3 uses of legendary resistance and Shore Seat. While mounted and not incapacitated, the Lord of the Hunt can't be knocked prone, dismounted, or moved against his will. Now, I don't think it's got... Oh, it does. Okay, I'll cover that in a second then.
It's kind of weird that it has that, because in my game, the wife plays in my game, and she plays a ranger who's a mounted ranger, and I actually was going to give her something like this at high level.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be... Okay. Yeah, I'm just glancing at it now. This could actually be something that could help you out with that.
No, that's why I'm like, ooh, I need to look at this in more depth now on my own time, because I'm going to probably adapt this for the exalted forms that you guys all get.
5e.tools. That's the website we use, everybody, for if anybody wants to go in and look at these CR lists and see why we chose what we chose for our list. 5e.tools/bestiary is the website that me and Eric use. You can go in and look at everything. Just make sure you have all the criteria, checked. Get absolutely every source book, and you'll be able to see everything that we're looking at as well, especially for these images that we're looking at, because some of these monsters are terrifying.
And I just want to point out, like, there are a bunch of different websites like this where, like I said, a friend of mine's getting ready to run her first D&D game, and it's a lot of expense at times, and it's not so accessible to especially younger people, teenagers, people in college at times, to run these games. There are a bunch of resources out there like 5e Tools that you can go out there, look into it, find the monsters. Even if you don't have a bunch of money, if you can at least just afford a player's handbook, you can run a game.
And if you're playing in something like Grim Hollow, of course, if you have the money, give them your money. That way they're not just losing out. But if you're struggling, the Grim Hollow book is on AnyFlip. I used it for a long time while I was playing in the Grim Hollow campaign, to where I could figure out exactly what path I wanted to go with my Lich transformation wizard and my vampire transformation blood hunter.
And it's not like we're anti Wizards of the Coast material or anything like that. It's just we are trying to encourage people to go outside. We're anti-Hasbro, basically.
Not so much.
And there are a lot of really amazing smaller publishers, even ones that are smaller than Cobalt Press, and the ones who publish Grim Hollow and Darrington and things like that. There are even smaller ones out there who are making just as good as content that I hope that we get into at some point.
Multi-attack. The Lord of the Hunt makes 3 spear or longbow attacks. Oh no, longbow. The spear, melee or ranged, plus 11 to hit, 5 foot or a range of 30 to 120, 1d6 plus 5 piercing damage, or 1d8 plus 5 piercing damage, plus 4d6 poison damage. If the Lord of the Hunt throws the spear teleports up to 120 feet to the Lord of the Hunt's hand at the start of his next turn. If he has no hand free, the spear teleports to the ground at his feet. Okay, Thor.
Okay, because we have a friend that in Rob's game plays a specific warlock subclass. Tell me this doesn't sound like the patron of the Hunter in the Darkness.
Very much so. Very much so.
Like, this would be your patron, basically. It would be so interesting. Because, like, this guy has a lot of the similar stuff that particular warlock subclass gets, and I was just noticing it.
The longbow plus 10 to hit, range of 150 to 600 feet. 1d8 plus 4 plus the 4d6 poison damage. Yep, it is Hunter's Quarry. The Lord of the Hunt magically calls 3d6 elk or boars, 1d4 giant boars or giant elk, or 1 elephant. The called beasts arrive in 1d4 rounds. Give me just a second. Oh, got a call from my boss.
No rest for the wicked.
No, of course not.
But as I was saying while you were on the phone, like, this is like a ranger-based monster, and it's really nice because I'm somebody who enjoys rangers before 5e destroyed them. That is,
Yeah.
To see this utilized and ranger abilities utilized in such a way to make them a very competent opponent for your party.
Oh, very much so. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Also, the beasts remain for an hour until the Lord dies or until the Lord dismisses them as a bonus action. The Lord can have any number of beasts under its control at one time, provided that the combined CR of the beast is no higher than 8. That's a lot. Depending on what he calls in, that's a lot.
Like, even mood druids can't transform into a CR8 beast for quite some time.
Reactions. Parry. The Lord of the Hunt increases his AC by 6 against one attack that would hit him. It doesn't have to be melee. All he has to do is see the attacker and be wielding a melee weapon. He can parry a longbow shot.
I wish you guys could see Rob's face right now because it's like all the light just went out of his eyes.
He could parry an Eldritch Blast. He could parry a Firebolt. He could parry and inflict wounds.
I
has
think
been
this
distant cast by the sorcerer.
Like, I feel like you know that I'm probably going to use this in my game for something, and thus you are having preemptive panic.
This right here is why he's not immune to paralyzed hold person. Well, he's a fey hold monster.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Do you have hold monster there, buddy?
Not yet, because I'm not the right level. Hold monster is what, a 6th or 7th level spell?
I think so, yeah.
Or it might be a 5th level. I might have access to it.
I think you might actually have access to it now, but
let me do a little pre-planning. Legendary actions. He can attack with a spear or longbow. Tenacious stride. The Lord of the Hunt moves up to his speed without provoking opportunity. Why? Without provoking opportunity attacks. If he's mounted, he can force the mount to move up to half its speed without provoking opportunity attacks instead. Call to the Hunt. Costs 2 actions. The Lord of the Hunt blows his hunting horn and chooses one creature he can see within 60 feet. If the creature can hear the horn, it must succeed on a DC 16 charisma saving throw or be charmed by the Lord of the Hunt for 8 hours. The charmed target obeys the Lord's verbal commands. If the target suffers any harm or receives a suicidal command, it can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on a success. If the target successfully saves against the effect, or if the effect on it ends, the target is immune to the Lord's call of the hunt for the next 24 hours. Here's the problem, though. That just says that if you get a suicidal command from the Lord of the Hunt that you can make the saving throw again. That doesn't mean it ends. So if he makes that suicidal command to your character and you fail the saving throw, your character dies.
Yeah. I like this, though. I'm going to use this. I'm not going to tell you for what, but I'm going to use this.
Oh, and one thing that I overlooked because I scrolled down too far. The bonus action Fey Mount, the one that you were interested in.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord of the Hunt can summon or dismiss a magical Fey Mount, mounting or dismounting it as part of this bonus action without expending movement. The mount uses the statistics of a warhorse, except it has 40 health, and it's a Fey. Has the same damage and condition resistances and immunities as the Lord of the Hunt, and uses the Lord's saving throw bonuses in place of its own. If the mount's slain, it disappears, leaving behind no physical form, and the Lord of the Hunt must wait an hour before summoning the mount again. That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's got layer actions.
Uh-huh.
So, cry havoc, because we know how layer actions work. The wild hunt echoes in an otherworldly war cry. One creature the Lord of the Hunt can see within 120 feet of him must succeed on a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Encourage undergrowth. Plants erupt from a point in the ground that the Lord of the Hunt can see within 120 feet of him. The area within 20 feet of that point is difficult terrain. A creature that enters the difficult terrain for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there must make a DC 19 dexterity saving throw or take 2d8 poison damage and be restrained by vines. A creature, including the restrained creature, can take its action to free itself from the vines by succeeding a DC 19 strength save. The plants remain until the Lord of the Hunt uses this layer action again or until he dies. Wow, so you can use that and then swap between Cry Havoc and Mark Prey, and the plants just stay.
Yep. That's nice. Like, this just cements what I'm going to use it for even more.
Oh, no. The last one, Mark Prey. One creature the Lord of the Hunt can see within 120 feet of him must succeed on a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw or be magically marked until the initiative count 20 on the next round. The Lord has advantage on all attack rolls against the marked target.
You may tell me I'm wrong, but this is a 5, buddy. This is a 5.
Oh, it is. I mean, it still doesn't technically go up. I don't think it's as good. It's not the dragon, but it's definitely a 5 in its own right. But then again, it's kind of hard to be on the same level as a dragon.
Well, like, what I'm probably going to do is change this a little bit and use it for one of the gods that you have to fight in my game.
I mean, I'll be fine with that.
Because she's a goddess of the hunt.
Let me just make Geralt real quick.
Yeah, basically you're going to need Geralt of Rivia. You need to rethink your characters again.
You just sit down. Where's Jennifer? Oh, Lord. It's a 5. It is. Lord of the Hunt is absolutely a 5 in its own right.
It's a lot of fun. I really thoroughly have enjoyed a lot of the monsters from Cobalt Press. They're achievably beatable, but at the same time, they introduce some fun new mechanics and stuff. And this is just one of them that proves that point of, like, sometimes some of the best stuff that you can run in your game is from third party.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on, sorry, go ahead.
Because both, like, the Mithril Dragon and this are both from Cobalt Press, right?
Yes, they're both from Cobalt Press.
Yeah.
Along with the Adult Sea Dragon that we didn't talk about. Just on the CR18 list, there's the on this website there's the Adult Mithril and Sea Dragon, and then there's the Lord of the Hunt. But there are a lot of other Toma Beast creatures on here, and of course this website also includes. Let's do some honorable mentions real quick. This CR list specifically has where are they at? Grog, Strongjaw, Keyleth, and and Percival.
Oh, they got my critical role. Oh, I mean,
all of them.
Honestly, out of that group, the one I would never want to face, Percy.
I don't know about that because when it comes down to going up against them, Vex is the one that would hurt the most because she's got a plus 18 to her damage rolls.
Percy has guns.
I mean, yeah, but outside of the fact that he makes 4 attacks, his guns really aren't doing that much damage.
No, but the 4 attacks scary, and he has levels in Warlock. I know that much.
Does he?
Yeah. At least in Critical Role, he had levels in Warlock.
Yeah, I think it's got a little bit of... Yeah, he's got a reaction about Absorb Magic, so it's probably a little bit to do with that, off of Cabal's Ruin. But
because Taliesin just can't play a normal character ever.
No, never. Back to the main list, we are now on the Otherworldly Corruptor, another aberration for Duck to geek out over.
I'm so excited.
Small or medium aberration, armor class of 19, maximum health of 217, or you can take the max of 29d8 plus 87 for a max health of 319. Movement speed of 40 and a climbing speed of 40. Plus 12 to dexterity and intelligence saving throws, plus 10 to perception and 18 to stealth.
I love that.
Resistant to only psychic. Condition immunities are charmed and frightened, blind sight of 30 feet, passive perception of 20, and he knows common with a telepathy of 120 feet and thieves' cant. This is the guy that you use to infiltrate the Thieves Guild while the Mind players are launching their attack because he's working with them.
I mean, it's another one of those things that, let's say you're running Pandelver and below, like you could throw this guy in there and it would make sense because you're dealing with a lot of like illithid Mind Flayer stuff and that.
Alien Mind. Magic and other features can't determine the Corruptor's creature type. If a creature tries to read the Corruptor's thoughts, that creature must succeed on a DC 20 intelligence saving throw or have the stunned condition for 1 minute.
Ooh.
And you can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns.
See, that's powerful in my opinion because that pretty much nerfs Blood Hunters against it because a lot of like Blood Hunter stuff is they have like they can identify what type of monstrosity, aberration, whatever against it.
Oh,
and
there's
then
also the Bard subclass, which I think was a Bard subclass, where you find out it's like resistances, it's immunities, it's proficiencies and stuff.
Well, I was gonna say Monk it would be nerfed against because Monk has something like that.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
And then because I play a lot of Aberrant Mind Sorcerers and I use the telepathy and the stuff a lot when I play them, your Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, who has a lot of psychic damage, would not go well against this one either. This would be it would honestly nerf so much of their abilities.
3 uses of legendary resistance and spider climb, so he can freak you out by standing on the ceiling.
I love Spider Climb. I wish they would have given us Spider Climb in Baldur's Gate 3.
Ugh.
Just imagine Asterion hanging from the ceiling.
That's just playing into the trope that he's a vampire and sleeps upside down.
And he's supposed to have Spider Climb.
Fair. Multi-attack. The Corruptor can make 3 Whispering Blade attacks and use Debilitating Touch. Okay. Whispering Blade, melee or ranged weapon attack, 5-foot reach or a 60-foot throw range, 1d8 plus 6 piercing damage plus 4d6 psychic damage. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 20 wisdom saving throw or be unable to speak until the start of the Corruptor's next turn. Oh, no.
This is like a Soul Knife Rogue turned up to 10,000.
No, that's counterspell. Think about
basically.
anything.
No, you're right.
Vocational spell. Any vocational caster, it shuts them down for an entire round. And if you just bink, he's got 3 of them. 1 to the wizard, 1 to the sorcerer, 1 to the cleric. There's your healing, your control, and your damage.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like this is a beastly one. These ones, now that we're into these higher CR level monsters on the show, like we're just getting into ones that are just absolutely beastly. We could go off on, I mean, in their own rights, all of these could easily be in a level at a number 5 in their own various points. Because all of these monsters are so strong. Like there hasn't been a monster that hasn't been strong so far on this list.
Except for that one we put it at 3. What was it? The Amnesu?
Yeah. And that was the least impressive one.
No, it was the Borbor.
The Borbor, the one that we can't say the name. We can't say the name. Yeah.
Look, all those years in Sunday school really helped me with these weird names. Reading out loud from the Old Testament helped. Oh, Lord. Then we have Debilitating Touch. The Corruptor's Squirming Tentacle. Ugh.
Yeah.
brother, ew, ew, what is that? Oh no!
Does a tentacle slap you? Does a tentacle slap you? A tentacle slaps you.
Squidward comes up and
Yeah,
slaps you. Lashes out at a creature the corruptor can see within 30 feet of itself. The target must succeed on a DC 20 Constitution saving throw or have the paralyzed condition until the end of its next turn. After which, the target is immune to the debilitating touch for 24 hours. That doesn't matter. You get paralyzed, and it's a critical hit if he comes close for all 3 attacks at advantage, and that 4d6 is doubled.
no, you're toast. You're toast. Like, even a barbarian where you can half the damage, it's still going to be to that point where you're going to be on death's door.
Well, see, there's not a single barbarian that I know of right off bat that gets resistance to psychic damage, because that's the one damage type that the Totem of the Bear doesn't get.
I was about to say, like, even Totem Barb, no. Of the standard, like, barbarian classes that I'm aware of from Wizards of the Coast, like, none of them have psychic.
And I don't think any of the ones we covered from Cobalt Press did either.
That's why psychic and force damage are so powerful as spells for your casters out there, because very few things can resist psychic, very few things can resist force.
Bonus action, change shape. It can magically transform into any creature that is small or medium while retaining its game statistics. Wait a minute.
It's kind of changeling.
Wait a minute. It can transform into any creature. That means it becomes a perfect copy. The bard goes missing for a little bit. He comes back. Hey guys, how you doing? What's going on?
It's a doppelganger.
This could take the place of a doppelganger.
Yeah. Like, if you're running a very illithid heavy campaign and you don't want to use a doppelganger, this would be a great alternative to quote unquote infiltrate the party. I mean, this is the subterfuge and the roguish aberration monster.
As a reaction, it has uncanny dodge. When an attacker or corruptor when an attacker the corruptor can see hits the corruptor with an attack, the corruptor halves the attack's damage against it. Okay. And legendary actions, because why not? Cunning. The corruptor escapes non-magical restraints and ends the grappled and restrained conditions on itself, then moves up to its speed without provoking opportunity. Screw this. That's dumb. That's dumb. Just for free, being able to end any kind of grapple or restrained condition on itself, and then the next thing you know, it moves, what was it, 40? Yeah, 40 feet. 40 feet without provoking an opportunity attack. But it's not like it's really going to matter, because it's got an armor class of 19. Who cares anymore?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, for 2 actions, it can stab somebody. It's called stab.
I like that.
Amorphous escape. Costs 3 actions. The corruptor dissolves into a shifting mass of flesh, tentacles, eyes, claws, and mouths. That's disgusting.
That's amazing.
Up to 2 creatures the corruptor can see within 20 feet of itself must make a DC 20 intelligence saving throw, taking 4d8 psychic damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful. This transformation lasts until the corruptor's next turn. While transformed, the corruptor has advantage on attack rolls. Attack rolls made against it have disadvantage, and it can move through spaces at least 1 inch wide without squeezing.
I love this. I would like to just play this as a character, please. It is the roguiest rogue.
Absolutely freaking not. No. Bugs Bunny meme. No.
This is me thinking, okay, but this is the roguiest rogue. This is the evolution of my rogue obsession to be just the most gremlin rogue in existence. That all this monster is. It's a gremlin player that just knows how to build a really, really strong rogue and has turned on the party.
This is just, it's too much.
No,
For
I think it's just
CR18.
the right amount. I think it's just the right amount of
This is
ridiculous.
reading like a CR21. Like, this could kick the crap out of a Lich.
Oh yeah, Vecna who? What?
It's a 5. There's no way around it. It's a 5. Wrapping
And
up
this,
this. Go
and
ahead.
I just want to say the last thing about this. This is another one because of the fact that there's so much subterfuge involved. You could have it infiltrate the party, and
Oh yeah, and
just for
don't think I wouldn't.
oh, I know you would. I know you would. But it's such like because everybody's worried about the rogue always turning on you in the party. You could play on that trite little like trope so much and then have it be basically an illicit.
This could be a thing one shot.
Yeah.
The movie that I'm doing that.
Also, this is something that I wish they would have had in Baldur's Gate.
It should have been in Baldur's Gate. Lastly, but probably not least, because this thing's kind of insane, just like everything else we talked about, is the Cybriex. It is a huge fiend, and it is ugly. Armor class of 19, max health of 120, or you can take the maximum of 12d12 plus 72 for a max health of 216.
It's not as stonky as some other people on this list.
It also has a 0-foot movement speed, but a flying speed of 20. Plus 13 to intelligence and charisma saving throws, 13 to arcana, history, and perception, resistant to cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, and piercing and slashing from non-magical attacks, immune to poison, immune to the poison condition, true sight of 120 feet, and a passive perception of 23.
Honestly, for a CR 18 fiend, that's not anything out of the realm of normal. That's not anything that is getting me excited about this yet.
Contamination. The Cybriex emits an aura of corruption 30 feet in every direction. Vegetation withers in the aura, and the ground in the aura is difficult terrain for other creatures. Any creature that starts its turn in the aura must succeed on a DC 20 con save or take 4d6 poison damage. A creature that succeeds on the save is immune to the Cybrex's contamination for 24 hours. 3 uses of legendary resistance and magic resistance.
It's nice. It's nice, but there are characters that have poison resistance. Poison resistance is pretty easy to get in D&D.
Multi-attack.
So,
the Cybriex makes 3 chain attacks and uses its Squirt Bile.
Ugh.
Yeah. The chain is a plus 13 to hit, 15-foot reach, 2d12 plus 7 force damage.
Ugh.
Spellcasting. The Cybriex casts one of the following spells with a spell save DC of 21.
Okay.
Command, Dispel Magic, Hold Monster, and Feeble Mind.
Not Feeble Mind. Oh, you know my feelings on Feeble Mind. It's the cruelest spell.
Squirt Bile, just a little. The Cybriex targets one creature it can see with 120 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 20 dex save or take 9d6 acid damage. That is young Black Dragon level. And it's not
that's like
retard.
Black Dragon breath weapon levels.
And that is every round. That is every round because it makes 3 chain attacks and uses its Squirt Bile. So if it targets one creature, 6d12 plus 21 force damage and 9d6 acid damage.
I don't like it now. Like, I wasn't impressed, but now I just don't like it because it does force damage and almost nothing has resistance to force damage, and then poison damage, it's persistent damage because even if you back away and you're not hit on the next turn, you're going to end up taking poison damage.
Yep. It gets worse. Warp Creature. The Cybriex targets up to 3 creatures it can see within 20 feet of it. Each target must make a DC 20 Constitution saving
I don't
throw.
like
On a successful save, a creature becomes immune to this Cybrex's Warp Creature. On a failed save, the target is poisoned, which causes it to also gain 1 level of exhaustion. While poisoned this way, the target must repeat the saving throw at the start of each of its turns. 3 successful saves against the poison ends it, and ending the poison removes any levels of exhaustion caused by it. Each failed save causes the target to gain another level of exhaustion. Once the target has 6 levels of exhaustion, it dies and instantly transforms into a living main under the Cybrex's control. A main is just a 8th challenge, armor class of 9, 9 hit points, and it does 2d4 slashing damage. The transformation of the body can be undone by only a wish spell.
I was gonna say that's brutal. That you have a couple of bad rolls on an otherwise very, very strong character. Tally, for example, like she's a very strong on paper character, but she has a couple of bad rolls, she's dead. She's now just like a freaking 9 HP meh.
Yeah, because you have to succeed 3 times, which you have 5 rounds to do so.
And honestly, Tally rarely succeeds on checks, so we're just gonna like ignore that. So
Legendary actions. It can cast a spell, use its Squirt Bile, or use Warp Creature. It doesn't need anything else.
I think the scariest part of it for me is the fact that you could reasonably face 2 of these in a layer.
Yeah.
In a very high level campaign, and you resist one of the warp creature, but you
and the
get
other
it.
one doesn't.
Yep.
Because it says specifically, on a successful save, a creature becomes immune to this Cybrex's Warp Creature. It's not the only one in the dungeon.
Can you imagine like fighting 2 of these at once, both of them doing like their poison spray in both directions, trying to warp people? Like, it doesn't matter if you have the most competent group of players in the entire world, they're going to struggle against this, because at first it doesn't look like it's going to do very much. It doesn't have a move speed, it doesn't have a fly speed, but you don't even have to really move it at this point, because just the AoE damage alone, and then you throw in the squirting the bile and the spell casting.
Well, you think about it. A 20th level barbarian or fighter, those are, or even a sorcerer that are proficient in Constitution saving throws. Unless you get something that allows you to go up above 20, which, realistically most doesn't. There's barely any magical
Barbarian
item that allow you to go up against. Oh,
Barbarian
yeah, it
does.
24, so it'll go up to what, a +7?
Yeah.
So the barbarian will have a maximum of +12 on that save. No,
They're
sorry,
the only one that
13.
they're the only one that stands half of a chance.
The fighter and the sorcerer will have a maximum of +11 on that save, and the spell save the DC is a 20. Is it possible? Yes, you only have to roll a 7 or 9, but that's a lot of numbers below that you could roll.
Yeah.
Especially if you, for some reason, have to make a disadvantage because you failed to save from being poisoned earlier.
This is a situation with a monster that I could see wild magic being actually very, very beneficial in the Tides of Chaos, and being able to re-roll. Like, honestly, like, if you're fighting this, you better hope people have like luck, or what's the wizard one with portents?
Let me go to D&D Beyond and see if I can find that. Portents.
Divination wizard. They get
Yes.
they get portents.
Yeah, greater portent.
Yeah, like if you have portents, then maybe you might be able to stand 1 or 2 rounds, but the other thing is this, even though it doesn't have a bunch of health, it's still you're not going to be able to take it out in 2 rounds, even with a party of 6 people.
This is the only thing that I've seen so far that will absolutely make a high-level fighter use his Indomitable. Absolutely make them use Indomitable. Because most of the time it's like, I've got 225 health. Who cares if I fail a deck save for 12d8 fire damage? It's not that big of a deal. They could roll max damage. I'm still fine. Oh, I'm about to take a level of exhaustion and I have to succeed 3 times before it goes away. Let me use my Indomitable on this.
A Dunamancy wizard, like the Chronoturgy wizard, I think they are, the ones that manipulate time, against this would carry the team, I think.
It would. But whenever you get up into like the 20th level characters, I don't see them fighting any less than about 5 or 6 of these.
I would say, like, if we're talking 20th level one-shot type thing, like, you're going to put them in a room with a bunch of these mofos and just be like, all right, good luck, Godspeed.
And it would probably, because they're 20th level, be one of the funnest fights you ever watched.
Well, and that is a problem with high-level campaigns, and I think that's why these lists that you guys do on the podcast are so important, because especially as a newer DM that's running a high-level campaign, sometimes I don't know even what stat blocks to start trying to pull from. And going to these monster lists and be like, okay, these are like CR 18, which I know are going to give my group a challenge. Because I think I could throw some of these monsters at you guys, and they would actually present real challenges for
right now
the party.
we have for your game. I think we would really struggle against the CR 17 or 18, but if you were to fudge the rolls, if it got ugly, we'd probably be able to come out on top or just have them fly away.
Yeah.
CR 17 or 18 is probably the max right now.
So yeah, I would say
I would say that CR 16 is probably the max, just because of the amount of damage you guys are able to put out, and you have a lot more healing.
15. I was going to say 15 or 16 for your game,
because you guys have a lot more healing available than we do.
Yeah.
For now, well, about to, because when Yagan leaves, that's a lot of healing going.
Yeah, but bards are still pretty competent healers.
Yeah. But
and
thank you.
You guys really don't need them, so you guys don't need the healing.
Thank you for listening and dealing with our rants and everything. And I hope you enjoyed. In the meantime, look over this monster list. Go on to 5e Tools or whatever other website you may be using and just look at some stuff. Keep rolling high, and we'll see you in the next one.